I was 20 minutes away from finalizing a $12 million estate transition when my boss's son fired me. Not for poor performance, not for client complaints, but because his crypto influencer girlfriend needed my position. Here's what they didn't realize. Those families weren't just account numbers in a portfolio. They were relationships I'd built over 28 years. And they were about to discover what happens when you put a social media expert in charge of multi-generational wealth. My name is Noah Bradshaw, and at 54, I'd spent my entire adult life becoming the most trusted wealth manager in Greenwich. That Tuesday afternoon in March started like any other. Coffee at 6 o'clock at my desk by 6:45, reviewing the Pemberton family trust documents for what had to be the 50th time. $12 million in assets, not our largest account, but one I'd personally managed through 2 generations over 15 years. You know what really gets me? Just 3 days before this happened, I'd been having lunch with Margaret Pemberton at the Greenwich Country Club. We were discussing her late husband's legacy and how to structure the trust for their grandchildren. "Noah," she'd said, cutting into her salmon, "you know how many financial advisors we've dealt with over the years? Most of them see dollar signs. You actually care about our family's future." That conversation felt like ancient history when the email notification popped up at 4:30 p.m. Not from my supervisor Rachel, who was in Boston meeting with the Sterling family. This came from Liam Cromwell. "Please come to my office immediately. Look, I saw this coming from a mile away." Liam, 29 years old, Wharton MBA, son of our founding partner Oliver Cromwell. He'd been installed as Chief Technology Officer 8 weeks ago after what the company newsletter called a digital transformation initiative. Translation: Daddy was getting tired of running the firm and wanted to hand it over to his kid who'd spent the last 5 years disrupting fintech startups in San Francisco. I'd actually tried to give him a chance initially. His presentation about AI-driven portfolio management had some interesting points about data analytics and efficiency optimization. But then he started talking about robo-advisors replacing human relationship managers and leveraging blockchain synergies. That's when I knew we were in trouble. I saved my work, straightened my tie, and walked down that familiar hallway to the corner office that used to belong to a partner with 40 years of experience. Liam had completely redecorated. Gone were the family photos and industry awards, replaced by motivational posters about embracing disruption and multiple monitors displaying real-time crypto prices. He didn't even look up when I knocked. "Sit down." The chair across from his desk was noticeably lower than his, a power play straight out of some amateur management handbook. Liam was scrolling through his phone, expensive sneakers propped on the mahogany desk his grandfather had, imported from England. His girlfriend Ashley sat in the corner, supposedly taking notes on her laptop, though I could see TikTok reflected in her screen. "Noah," he finally acknowledged me, setting down his phone like I was interrupting something important. "We need to talk about your future trajectory here. Is there an issue with the Pemberton transition? I can walk you through the tax implications if you need clarification on the recent estate law updates. It's not about any specific account." He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled like he was running a board meeting. "It's about technological evolution, generational thinking, the strategic direction we're taking this firm." Technological evolution. Right. I'd managed more assets than any other non-partner for 7 consecutive years. My client retention rate was 96%. I'd brought in $3.2 million in new business last year alone, including 2 families that had never worked with our firm before. But sure, let's discuss strategic direction. I'm not following, Liam. "Look, you're competent. Nobody's questioning your competence." The way he said competent made it sound like a weakness. But Cromwell Wealth Management is evolving. We need forward-thinking team members who understand automation, AI optimization, people who can think beyond traditional relationship paradigms. Here's what I wanted to say: that wealthy families succeed by working within very specific legal and financial frameworks. That's exactly what they pay us for. Expertise in navigating those frameworks without getting them audited, penalized, or financially devastated. Here's what I actually said. "What exactly are you telling me? Today is your last day. Security will escort you out after you sign these documents." He slid a packet across the desk with the casual indifference of someone ordering lunch. "Non-disclosure agreement, non-compete clause, 8-month severance if you cooperate." My stomach dropped. "You're terminating me the day before the Pemberton Trust finalizes?" "Ashley will handle the transition." He was already checking his phone again, mentally moving on from destroying my career. She's implemented some incredible AI-driven strategies that will revolutionize how we manage family wealth. Ashley, his girlfriend from the crypto influencer world, who'd started 6 weeks ago as client experience director. Last week, I'd overheard her asking our receptionist what fiduciary responsibility meant. This woman had a marketing degree and a certificate in social media optimization. Ashley isn't licensed for investment management. She can't legally provide financial advice or handle trust transitions. That's no longer your concern. Her smile was all teeth, no warmth. You have 1 hour to clear out your office. And Noah, the NDA is non-negotiable. You discuss any client information, any proprietary strategies, will bury you in litigation. This firm has very deep pockets. I stood up slowly, keeping my expression neutral while my mind was racing. 28 years. Nearly 3 decades of missed family dinners, working through holidays, building relationships with 22 wealthy families who trusted me with their most sensitive financial decisions. 28 years of creating systems, processes, and institutional knowledge that this firm operated on. I thought about my son Cameron's medical school tuition. $72,000 due in 6 weeks for Columbia. I thought about my daughter Isabella starting her junior year at Phillips Exeter. Another $62,000 annually. I thought about my mother in the assisted living facility. $4,800 monthly for her care in Greenwich. I thought about the alimony payments to my ex-wife Linda that don't end until I'm 62. All of it dependent on my income, my reputation, my career. 1 hour, Liam repeated, his attention already back on his crypto portfolio. Leave your access cards with security. I walked back to my office in a daze. Through the glass walls, I could see my colleagues avoiding eye contact. News. Travels at the speed of light in wealth management firms. I was radioactive now, toxic. 1 hour to pack up 28 years. I pulled out my personal laptop, the one I used for evening research when the firm's systems were down for maintenance. My personal phone with contact information I'd accumulated over nearly 3 decades of client relationships. My handwritten notes. The kind of institutional knowledge that couldn't be digitized or automated. My reference books with margin notes from hundreds of estate planning sessions. My Navy coffee mug that said, "World's okay, Dad," a Father's Day gift from Isabella when she was 12. Here's what they couldn't pack into boxes. The relationships I'd built. The personal cell phone numbers in my contacts. The trust earned through countless hours of meticulous work. The industry knowledge accumulated over 28 years of wealth management, estate planning, and family crisis intervention. As security watched me fill cardboard boxes, I thought about Margaret Pemberton, about how her family had specifically requested me after I'd saved them from a catastrophic tax penalty 8 years ago. About how she'd invited me to her grandson's graduation last spring. About how she had no idea that tomorrow, her $12 million trust transition would be handled by someone whose biggest financial experience was promoting cryptocurrency to teenagers on social media. I signed the papers, took my boxes, handed over my access cards. But as I walked out of Cromwell Wealth Management for the last time, past the marble lobby with commissioned portraits of 3 generations of Cromwell financial advisors, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost. I was thinking about what they'd forgotten I still possessed. And about Thursday's monthly meeting of the Greenwich Investment Council, where 35 of the most influential wealth managers in Connecticut would be very interested to hear why Noah Bradshaw was suddenly available for new opportunities. I sat in my home, office at 6 p.m., still wearing my suit, staring at those cardboard boxes like they might explain what had just happened. The house felt too quiet for a Tuesday evening. Cameron was back at Columbia for spring semester, and Isabella was at her mother's apartment for the week. I should have been celebrating the Pemberton Trust closing with Margaret and her family at the Yale Club right now. Instead, I was unemployed with 11 years left until retirement. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something sharper. Not just anger, clarity. I opened my laptop and started taking inventory of what I actually owned versus what Cromwell Wealth Management thought they controlled. The non-compete clause was 8 months, but I knew Connecticut law better than Liam did. Non-competes are extremely difficult to enforce when termination is without cause, especially when you can prove bad faith. Firing someone to make room for an unqualified girlfriend definitely qualified as bad faith. First, my methodologies. Over 28 years, I'd developed comprehensive frameworks for estate planning, tax optimization strategies, and generational wealth transfer systems. The firm had never asked me to transfer these to their servers, probably because nobody there understood their value. They existed in my personal cloud storage, meticulously organized, my intellectual property created on my own time, refined through hundreds of client relationships. Second, the relationships. I pulled out my personal phone and scrolled through the contacts. Margaret Pemberton, Richard Sterling, Maria Randolph. 22 family patriarchs and matriarchs who had my direct line because Cromwell's official channels meant waiting 3 days for a response. These weren't just business cards from networking events. These were relationships built over decades. People who had invited me to their children's weddings, who called for advice on everything from investment strategies to their grandchildren's college funding, who trusted me with their family secrets because I'd proven myself through years of crisis management and weekend emergency consultations. Third, the industry connections that Liam clearly didn't understand. Thursday's Greenwich Investment Council meeting at the Country Club, the monthly breakfast group of senior wealth managers at Round Hill Club, the annual Connecticut Estate Planning Conference where I'd been a featured speaker for 9 years running. My phone buzzed. Rachel, my former supervisor, texting from inside the firm. Heard what happened. Emergency partners meeting scheduled for Monday. Liam announced Ashley will transition into senior wealth coordinator role. This is absolutely insane. I didn't respond. The NDA was intentionally vague about personal communications, and I wasn't taking any chances, but Rachel's message confirmed what I suspected. Panic was setting in. I spent the rest of the week researching and strategizing. By Sunday night, I'd transformed my dining room into a command center. 28 years of accumulated knowledge spread across the table. Not client files, those belong to Cromwell, but my personal methodologies, my regulatory tracking systems, my relationship-building frameworks, the infrastructure that had made me indispensable. Monday morning, I created a new professional email address, nbradshaw.consulting. Not a competing firm, just a professional presence. Updated my LinkedIn to independent wealth management consultant, estate planning and family legacy strategies. No mention of Cromwell Wealth Management, no violation of any agreement. Then I waited exactly 45 days. That was crucial, demonstrating good faith, proving I wasn't rushing to violate my agreements. During those 45 days, I watched from the sidelines as Cromwell Wealth Management began to implode. Thursday brought the Greenwich Investment Council meeting I'd been anticipating. The Country Club's private dining room was filled with the usual crowd, 35 of the most respected wealth managers in Connecticut. I'd been attending these monthly gatherings for 18 years. Noah Bradshaw called out Michael Harrison from Harrison Family Office as I walked in. Heard you've got some big developments. Word travels fast in Greenwich's wealth management community. Within minutes, I was surrounded by colleagues, all curious about my sudden availability. I kept my responses professional but vague. Exploring new opportunities, I said repeatedly. Sometimes change creates possibilities you didn't know existed. The real conversations happened during golf the following Saturday at Round Hill. Jason Walker from Walker & Associates had invited me for their usual foursome. As we stood on the 9th tee, he got straight to the point. Noah, I've got 6 families asking if you're available for consulting work. Nothing that would violate your agreements, just independent estate planning guidance and wealth preservation strategies. By the 15th hole, I'd received similar inquiries from the other 2 advisors in our group. Word was spreading that Ashley's AI optimization efforts were creating serious problems. The first major crisis hit during week 3. Maria Randolph from the Randolph manufacturing dynasty called my personal phone at 7:30 a.m. on a Wednesday. Noah, I know you can't discuss Cromwell business, but we just received an audit notice from the IRS. Something about our charitable trust structure. Ashley filed what she called an automated compliance response, but we're looking at potential penalties exceeding $450,000. I'd seen dozens of these audit notices. The IRS had implemented aggressive enforcement of new charitable trust regulations 6 months ago. Families had 30 days to provide proper documentation or face escalating penalties. Maria, I can't provide official advice without proper representation, but as a friend, I'd strongly recommend you get specialized tax counsel to review that notice immediately. Can you recommend someone? And could you take a quick look at the notice, just to point us in the right direction? No charge. You've been helping our family for 12 years. The document arrived within minutes. One glance told me everything. The Randolph Charitable Trust documentation wasn't compliant with the new federal regulations. Ashley had submitted a generic template response that completely missed the technical requirements. They had 8 days left to fix a problem that would take 15 days minimum to resolve properly. Maria, you need emergency tax counsel today. This isn't routine paperwork. You're looking at potential criminal violations if this isn't handled correctly. By Thursday of week 4, I'd received similar crisis calls from 11 other families. Each situation followed the same pattern: complex regulatory issues, Ashley's incompetent automated responses, millions in potential exposure. Here's the thing: these weren't accidents. Ashley genuinely believed that AI software could handle estate planning. She had actually told one family that their trust structure was legacy thinking that needed digital optimization. Week 5 brought the call I'd been expecting. Margaret Pemberton, her voice tight with controlled fury. Noah, the trust transition closed, but there's a critical tax compliance issue. Ashley missed a new federal estate requirement that went into effect last month. We're looking at a $600,000 tax liability that should have been avoided with proper planning. Our family board is demanding answers. The tax compliance issue, a new federal requirement that had taken effect 4 months ago. I'd flagged it in my personal planning notes, but those notes were in my files, not Cromwell's system. Margaret, I can't discuss specifics about your transaction, but after my 45-day restriction period ends next week, I'd be happy to review your situation as an independent consultant. Would Walker & Associates be interested in representing our family on this matter? Walker & Associates, the boutique firm that specialized in sophisticated family wealth management with a fraction of Cromwell's overhead costs. Jason Walker had been trying to recruit me for years, usually over drinks at the Yale Club. I think they might be very interested in discussing your family's needs. The 45-day mark hit on a Friday. That afternoon, I called Jason Walker. Noah Bradshaw. I've been wondering when you'd call, interested in discussing some potential opportunities. I think we might have considerable mutual interest to explore. Come in Monday morning. And Noah, bring your golf clubs. I think we need to have a comprehensive conversation about the future. Monday morning at Walker & Associates felt like entering a completely different world. Where Cromwell Wealth Management was all intimidating marble and corporate formality, Walker's office had the comfortable efficiency of a firm that cared more about results than appearances. Jason Walker, 61 years old with 35 years of practice, had built his reputation by being smart instead of flashy. Noah Bradshaw, he said, standing from behind a desk that actually looked used. I've been wondering when you'd finally leave that corporate circus. I didn't exactly leave voluntarily. Liam Cromwell called me last week, Jason said, his tone dry. Warned me about a former employee who might try to violate his non-compete. Suggested that any firm helping you would face aggressive litigation. My stomach tightened. And your response? I told him Walker & Associates doesn't respond well to threats, especially hollow ones from kids playing dress-up in expensive suits. Over the next hour, Jason laid out his proposal. Senior consultant position initially. That kept me clear of any non-compete issues. 70-30 revenue split in my favor. Full professional insurance coverage and litigation support when Cromwell inevitably came after me. The thing is, Noah, I've been getting calls, Margaret Pemberton, Richard Sterling, others. They're not happy with the service they're receiving, but they're also concerned. Nobody wants to be the first to leave and face Liam's litigation threats. So what are you suggesting? That we make leaving feel less like abandoning ship and more like boarding a luxury yacht? That afternoon, I found myself back at the country club, not for golf, but for what Jason called strategic relationship meetings. The approach was simple. Let word spread naturally through Greenwich's wealth management community that Walker & Associates was expanding their family office practice. By Wednesday, the crisis calls were coming faster than I could handle them properly. Maria Randolph called with an emergency. The IRS had escalated their penalty to $650,000 after Ashley filed another inadequate automated response. Maria, I can't represent you while I'm still bound by agreements, but I know someone who can help immediately. Can you work with Walker & Associates on this as of today? Absolutely. Thursday brought the call I'd been expecting but dreading. Oliver Cromwell himself, Noah. His voice was older than I remembered, strained in a way that told me he'd been getting similar calls all week. We need to discuss this situation. Mr. Cromwell, how can I help you? You know exactly how. My firm is hemorrhaging clients. 18 families have terminated our services in 5 weeks. This has to stop. You know what really bothered me? He actually sounded surprised. Sir, those families made their own decisions about wealth management representation. I haven't solicited anyone. Don't insult my intelligence. This is coordinated. This is calculated revenge. I thought about Liam in his standing desk setup, about Ashley playing on TikTok while family fortunes collapsed, about 28 years of loyalty repaid with humiliation. Mr. Cromwell, these are consequences. Your son replaced me with someone who thinks estate planning is automated software. A long pause. When he spoke again, his voice was smaller. I'll handle Liam. Come back. Name your terms. Full partnership, your own division, whatever you want. It's too late for that. It's never too late. I built this firm from nothing. I won't watch it die because of my son's mistakes. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Oliver had built something genuinely impressive over 45 years since founding the firm in 1978. But he'd also made the choice to step back and leave it in incompetent hands. I don't want anything from you, Mr. Cromwell. I just want to practice wealth management competently for families who deserve better than what they've been receiving. By the following Friday, Jason was grinning like someone who'd just won the lottery. 18 families have either terminated Cromwell or requested proposals from us. 18 out of what, 22 total clients? Something like that. Noah, I've been practicing wealth management for 35 years. I've never seen anything like this. It's not just that they're leaving Cromwell. They're specifically asking for you by name. The call that ended everything came on a Tuesday morning, 14 weeks after Liam had fired me. I was in my new Walker & Associates office, a corner space with actual windows and room for my reference books, when my assistant knocked. Mr. Bradshaw, the Financial Times wants a comment. Cromwell Wealth Management just announced they're liquidating their family office division. I turned on the conference room television. The anchor was mid-sentence. Confirmed that the 45-year-old wealth management firm has announced the closure of their family office operations after losing approximately 85% of their high-net-worth client base over the past 4 months. Industry sources attribute the firm's rapid decline to what they describe as catastrophic technology implementation decisions. The screen showed Liam Cromwell outside the Connecticut Department of Banking, flanked by lawyers from crisis management firms. He looked nothing like the confident MBA who'd fired me 14 weeks ago. The expensive sneakers were gone, replaced by conservative business attire that seemed borrowed. Dark circles under his eyes told the story of someone who hadn't slept properly in weeks. No comment, he repeated to reporters, but one journalist persisted. Mr. Cromwell, is it true that unlicensed personnel were providing investment advice to multi-million-dollar accounts? How do you respond to regulatory complaints from 12 different families? Liam made the critical mistake of stopping, of trying to defend decisions that were indefensible. This is a coordinated attack orchestrated by competitors who can't handle innovation. Who specifically are you referring to? Noah Bradshaw, the advisor we terminated 14 weeks ago for refusing to embrace technological progress. Another reporter interrupted. Sources indicate Mr. Bradshaw was responsible for maintaining relationships with most of the clients who have since left. Can you comment on the circumstances of his termination? Liam's composure finally cracked. We made strategic decisions about the future direction of wealth management. Sometimes that requires difficult personnel changes. The camera zoomed in as he essentially confirmed on live television that my firing had been a strategic decision rather than performance-related, potentially undermining any remaining legal claims they might have had. Jason appeared in my doorway, shaking his head. He just made his lawyers' jobs 10 times harder. It's actually painful to watch, I said. And it was. Not because I felt vindicated, but because watching a half-century institution collapse was genuinely tragic, regardless of who caused it. 6 months later, I stood in my permanent corner office at Walker & Associates. I'd made full partner after successfully transitioning 18 former Cromwell families to our firm. Hunter Davis was across the hall as a senior associate, handling compliance issues with his usual methodical precision. My phone buzzed with a text from Cameron. Dad, made Dean's List again. Thanks for showing me that setbacks can become comebacks. Another from Margaret Pemberton. Noah, our family board approved Walker & Associates for our annual Wealth Management Award. Well deserved. Even one from my mother's care coordinator. Mr. Bradshaw, your mother wanted me to tell you she's proud of how you handled your career transition with such dignity. I leaned back in my chair, looking out over Greenwich's harbor. The Cromwell building was now occupied by a cryptocurrency startup. Ironic, given that they'd claimed to be revolutionizing wealth management. Look, Liam Cromwell had taught me the most valuable lesson of my professional career. Competence and relationships matter more than automation and disruption. When someone shows you who they really are through their actions, believe them. At 54, I wasn't just surviving my mid-career upheaval. I was thriving because of how I'd handled it. The golf games with families at Round Hill continued. The monthly investment council meetings at the country club remained productive. The relationships built over 28 years had proven more durable than any single firm's letterhead. That's what wealth management is really about. Not revenge or destruction, but competence, relationships, and protecting what matters. Sometimes that means letting the incompetent destroy themselves while you focus on building something better. Even when building that better future means watching a 45-year-old institution collapse because someone confused change with improvement and disruption with progress. Sometimes the best revenge isn't plotting against your enemies. It's simply being so good at what you do that their incompetence becomes obvious to everyone who matters. In a world obsessed with disruption and automation, never underestimate the power of old-fashioned competence and genuine human relationships. They're the only things that can't be replaced by an algorithm.